A mystery virus infects dozens of people in Wuhan,
It has been confirmed
China.
that there are 2 cases now in
I'm
England.
declaring a public health emergency of international concern over the global outbreak of novel coronavirus.
You must stay at home. Youth and previous good health don't guarantee survival.
My mum, she was my best friend. I'm never going to see my mum again.
呢種疾病係好危險嘅，越有高度傳染性。如果你真係確診咧，就係記住要要去研究。
My name is Maria, I'm from Russia.
My name is Louis.
My name's Ash.
Parko.
Delisa. Stiniabail.
Naoki.
Melissa.
My name is Kasia and I'm from Poland.
I'm from Hong Kong.
And I'm from Norway. Luxembourg.
Germany.
Hong Kong.
From China.
And I'm from Japan.
I've never been to Canterbury before even coming here to study here.
I didn't know how Canterbury, Canada is going to be like.
So I just went on Google Maps and then looked a little bit and did the street view and everything.
I kind of just chose Kent on a whim because I got unconditional offers for other unis that I applied to as well, but to me they basically all looked the same because I couldn't come and visit.
Basically just looked up the course details.
That's the only method I could do back then.
So for the first time I came in September 2020.
When I came here I had to isolate for 2 weeks.
I got moved to a different accommodation as well in Tyler Court here at university on campus. It was a little bit annoying because obviously you're in a new place, you want to see what it looks like.
I came into a brand new place, I came into a brand new country, but the first thing I did wasn't to sort of explore or to settle in, it was to isolate, it was to put in a small box and all you can see of the uni or the Canterbury is through a small little window.
We looked at the window and we were like, we really want to go out, we really want to explore.
And then I remember after getting out of the isolation, I was like, oh my god, this is how the UK is like. So, we're going to begin with basic questions, okay? What is your name and where are you from?
My name is Finn Gee and I'm from Singapore. It was a bit of a weird difference coming to uni because at home everyone eats together. So then for the first time in uni, I was sort of eating alone and it was a bit lonely.
The worst part would be, I think it's homesick.
Yeah, I did struggle a bit because obviously I wanted to see my family. At the beginning of the pandemic, I haven't seen them for a few years at this point. But it's also about not seeing my friends.
I think it's a problem all international students have, but I think COVID has sort of made it more impossible for us to go home.
I did not travel during COVID. I only managed to get there this Christmas. So it's been, 2.5 years or so?
I actually can't remember a good travel experience that I've had since COVID because of all the restrictions that were always changing and always abruptly changing.
A few weeks before my flight, it told me that it got cancelled. What China was doing was that from the UK, we have to fly to a transfer city and stay there for 10 hours to wait for our COVID result. And then if it's negative, then you can go back to China. Blood test, COVID test before flight, for me it was Copenhagen. I arrived Copenhagen, blood test, COVID test, wait for 10 hours in the airport, result comes out, and then go back to China.
When you go to the airport and they'll pass you the bracelet tracking your GPS, specific taxis, outside the airport to send you to the hotel that you booked.
Directly after we landed, COVID test, blood test again. So my blood was taken out 3 times in 48 hours basically. It was crazy.
Essentially, even though there were 2-3 months of summer, I was in quarantine for about a month of that. When in the last week, I sort of got hit by my dust allergies because obviously in 3 weeks there's sort of dust buildup. I don't have any cleaning equipment, so I was sneezing a lot and allergies were really hitting me hard. So when I got out, the first thing I was like, oh my God, fresh air.
And then they took all of us who chose to isolate in Shanghai to a bus and then drove us all the way to countryside.
So you have to pay for the hotel yourself. So you book the hotel and you stay there for 2 weeks. And they'll send you SMS, like update you with like your results, your test results, and then like the when you can leave with the bracelet. So basically you can't take it off, you can't leave the room. It was pretty expensive. It was around like a grand or two.
6,000 RMB, so it was 600-ish, 700-ish pound for 14 days of isolation.
The amount of money I had to spend traveling was ridiculous.
I needed to take like this one specific test before I could fly out of Norway.
The tests you needed were the ones you had to pay for,
which was like 100 quid.
We had to pay £200.
I think it kind of turned into a game. I spent like £200 on a test, and then my friend was like, oh, you knew there's a website where you can spend just like 50 quid. And I'm like, really? And you're telling me this now?
It's supposed to be worth anything to go back and see my family after all these years of not seeing them. But COVID has just made it feel like it's not worth it.
My grandma was up in Scotland, so before I managed to come to uni, and I was at least then in the same country, I was worried the whole time that she would get COVID, because I knew if she'd get it, she'd probably die, because she's like 93. So that was a big worry that I wouldn't even be able to see her again.
My grandma, she passed this year. The only thing I could personally do was to join her funeral through voice call. That's about it.
At the beginning of December 2021, my uncle died back in Poland. Because if it wasn't COVID, I would be able to just like fly for one day, attend funeral and go back. But because of isolation, I wouldn't even be able to attend the actual funeral. I knew that my aunt and my cousin will be, obviously they will have my family, but they will be left alone in some way. And it would be good to be there and support them. I couldn't even like go and hug them or just be there for them.
I just wanted to go back, just to visit again. Yeah, definitely felt really conflicted about all this.
Very hopeless and powerless because I couldn't do anything, even if I really wanted to.
One of the biggest concern before me coming here was the fact that because of COVID, what if there's going to be discriminations or an Asian hate against me?
I'm Hugo Hamada from Japan. I was kind of scared when I came back because it was more like serious about the racism. There's one friend, he got into the trouble because of racism.
I've literally seen one of my classmates back in Singapore got hit by one of the random people in Oxford Street. See that news and see the picture of him got all beaten up. Definitely really scary to see, and my parents obviously are also really scared for me to go.
So they smashed his face with a bottle, so he has a huge scar here. That's one of the things for internationals, because you can't really get help from your parents because you're farther away. Yeah.
Politicians in Norway, they don't really know a lot of health related things to COVID. It seems like sometimes they will just, bullshit rules up because everyone was like, okay, we don't like the situation, but they didn't really know how to change it.
After I got off isolation, the government then told us that we need to isolate for 2 more weeks at home because there were cases where after 2 weeks, someone still got COVID and it was spreading around.
It does look like, even though you think the authorities know everything, when this whole situation happened, you actually find out they know nothing. Everyone was panicking, no one knew what to do. No one could cooperate in the world. I know it's difficult, but we still live in kind of global age era. So I would be so surprised by seeing how different countries would react differently, and how some countries would have 30 days lockdowns, and then some countries be like, it's okay, 5 days negative test, you can go.
So this is a wire doll that I made in, I want to say, the first month or two of quarantine. His name is Ink. I got really attached to it. So I just sort of like had it next to my bed. He was next to my laptop when I was doing online classes. So like it was like a motivation, like a study buddy. I think in a weird way he sort of became like a friend that I sort of started talking to myself, but he sort of helped me feel like I wasn't going crazy.
Because of COVID, we could see our friends only. So that helped me to communicate with my friends like better.
I still decided to come to another country, even though COVID was happening and everything. And I know so many people back in Luxembourg who just said, no, now during COVID and everything, let's just take a gap year. And I was like, this virus is not gonna make me waste a year.
Obviously, as international students, it's hard to come here, but that's just international students struggle in general. It's hard to like come here without missing your family, without missing your hometown. But that's sort of like we asked for it, we wanted to do it. Don't want to shame any like international students because we did make this choice to come here, but because of COVID, it just made it so much harder. That's it. Yeah.
And then I lost my passport. Yeah, that's the best passport photo I've ever had.
Pictures you don't know anyway, so okay.
Can I? It's well. No, I don't like working out at home. So.
Relatives, and we do appreciate the fact that they're there with us.
Hi, my name is Louis. Nice to meet you.
Oh, sorry. Wait, I'll keep this down. Actually. Continuity. Hang on.
Get out earlier, but because it was quiet and peaceful, I stayed in the isolation because it was quiet. I remember that.
Okay.
Anyway,